Alan Greenspan, the former Federal Reserve Chairman, said the biggest problem with today's generation is a lack of financial literacy. So today we're going to talk about financial literacy. And actually, I'm going to give you guys a quiz to tell how financially literate you are. And this same quiz has been given to millions of people all around the world. After we're done, you can get your score, see if you got all the questions right, and I'll tell you how other Americans do and where there's variation. Is there a difference between boys and girls? Is there a difference between educated and non-educated? And so on. So we'll talk about how different groups of Americans do on this test. And you'll have taken the test and we'll see how you stack up. So this test has 5 questions, so we're going to take them one at a time. So just remember how many you got right, just write it down or keep it in your head. The first question is about interest rates and compounding. The question is this. Suppose you had $100 in a savings account that was earning 2% per year. After 5 years, would you have more than $102, exactly $102, less than $102? I'll give you a second to think about it. The correct answer is more than $102. So in the first year, your 100 would grow to 102. Then in the second year, your 102 would earn slightly more than $2, and so on and so forth. And by the end of 5 years, you'd have $110.41. So this is compound interest. You'd earn interest on the interest in subsequent years. The second question is about inflation. The question is this. Suppose you have $100 in your savings account, and the savings account earns 1% a year, while inflation is 2% a year. So in 1 year, will you be able to buy more than you can buy today, less than you can buy today, or exactly the same that you can buy today? I'll give you a second to think about it. The answer is less than you can buy today. That's because the money in the account would have grown from $100 to $101, but the cost of the goods and services you used to be able to buy for $100 now cost $102, and you only have $101. The third question is about risk and diversification, and it's a true-false question. The question is this. Buying a single company's stock usually provides a safer return than buying a mutual fund. True or false? This one's false. So think of it like this. Imagine person A, he has only Ford stock in his portfolio, while person B has a mutual fund with 1,000 companies within the mutual fund, of which Ford is one. Now imagine Ford gets sued, and this is a significant and negative lawsuit for the company, and it's going to cause the stock to drop. Which guy will be less affected by this lawsuit against Ford? This guy who only has Ford, or this guy who has 1,000 companies, of which Ford is one? This guy will be less affected by the lawsuit against Ford because he has 999 other stocks. This guy will be very negatively affected by this lawsuit because he only owns Ford. So mutual funds have a safer return. In this case, safer means a lower range of outcomes, where risky would mean a wider range of outcomes. His returns will be wider or riskier. His returns will be safer or have a narrower range of return. The fourth question is another true-false question, and it's about mortgages. The question is this. A 15-year mortgage typically has higher monthly payments than a 30-year mortgage, but the total interest over the life of the loan will be lower. True or false? This one's true. A 15-year mortgage has you paying off the principal in 15 years, while a 30-year mortgage has you paying off the mortgage in 30 years. So the 15-year mortgage is going to have higher payments because you're paying off the loan in half as much time. As far as the interest goes, you pay interest on the principal remaining every month or every year. The 15-year mortgage is going to pay off the principal in half as much time, so you'll pay less interest with that loan because the principal is falling quickly, and you'll only be paying for 15 years. So that statement is true. 15-year mortgages have higher monthly payments, but you pay less total interest over the life of the loan. The fifth question is potentially the most difficult. It's about bond pricing. And the question is this. If interest rates rise, what happens to bond prices? They stay the same, they go up, or they go down? I'll give you a second to think about it. The answer is they go down. So we can think of it like this. There's some existing bond out there that costs $1,000 and has 3% interest rate. Now, new bonds are issued at a higher interest rate because interest rates went up. So now we have this new bond over here that's also $1,000, but it pays 4% interest. So if you're looking for a bond to buy, which one is more attractive? Pay $1,000 for 3% or pay $1,000 for 4%? Well, this one's more attractive. So that means this one's relatively less attractive. And if it's less attractive, the price is going to adjust downward. So if interest rates go up, and we get new bonds at 4% when the old bonds used to be at 3%, this means the old bonds with the lower interest rate, their price is going to fall. So if interest rates go up, bond prices fall. Okay, so we had 5 questions. We had interest and compounding, we had inflation, we had risk and diversification, we had mortgages, and we had bond prices. How many of the questions did you get right? All right. So of Americans who take this quiz, only 15% get all 5 correct. And the quiz has been given to people all around the world, in Asia, in Europe. They all do about the same as we do here in America. Don't feel bad if you didn't get them all correct. Most people in the world don't get them all correct. The percent of Americans getting all 5 questions correct varies along some dimensions. The first dimension is gender. 21% of males in the US can answer all 5 questions correctly, while only 10% of females answer all questions correctly. This probably has to do with the fact that men deal with finances more than women do. The second dimension, along which this varies, is age. Only 5% of Americans under the age of 25 get all 5 questions correct. But if you look at those over 45, 20% of Americans get them all correct. This also makes sense. As you get older, you deal with personal finances more. You probably haven't bought a home if you're only 18 years old, while if you're over 45, you likely have bought a home and looked at different mortgages. So as you get older, you deal with finances more. You probably can answer all 5 questions correctly with a higher chance if you're older and have dealt with finances more. The third dimension we're going to consider is education. Only 2% of Americans without a high school degree can answer all 5 questions correctly, while 29% of Americans with a college degree can answer all 5 questions correctly. If you finish college, you probably have more intellectual ability than if you haven't finished high school. The last dimension we're going to consider is income, and this one also goes how you'd expect it to go. Only 5% of Americans earning less than $25,000 a year are able to answer all 5 questions correctly. On the flip side, 37% of Americans earning more than $150,000 get all 5 questions right. These people probably have a very good understanding of finances because they're big earners. They deal a lot with money because they earn a lot of it. I want to share one more quote with you. This is from a famous European economist. The quote is this: "Just as it was not possible to live in an industrialized society without literacy, the ability to read and write, it is not possible to live in today's society without financial literacy. Financial literacy is an essential tool for anyone who wants to succeed in today's society, make financial choices, and ultimately be a good citizen." So financial literacy is very important, but we as a country and as a world are not very financially literate. Something that occurred to me while thinking about this video is, never in my high school or college education did I have a chance to take a personal finance course. It was never offered to me. Think back to your time in education. Did you ever have the opportunity to take a personal finance course? We need to do better. There's lots of research that shows we as Americans make mistakes because we have low financial literacy, and these mistakes impose big costs on our lives. I'll try to cover some of the most common mistakes in future videos, and if you're making them, hopefully you can stop. In any case, hopefully this video has shed some light on your own financial literacy, and a potential takeaway from this is maybe you need to go to the library and pick up a personal finance book. Or when you have questions, ask people who are financially literate. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please click below and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.